Forrest Griffin, a retired mixed martial artist and UFC Hall of Famer, once said, "Fear is a good thing because it keeps you alive. But if it becomes so great that it hinders you from doing what you want, then you have to confront it head on." Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Coker, and I'm here today to talk to you about fear and how it can both propel us forward and hold us back in life through my years of skiing. By the end of the speech, I hope that you can better understand the concept of fear and how it affects our lives in big and small ways. I've been skiing with my family for 8 years in Colorado and Utah, so I am able to talk to you about how fear can change you in certain situations, because I have faced those situations where I've had to overcome and face fear. My 3 points will be about how fear is natural, fear can be your greatest ally, and how it is possible to accept that you are afraid and still be unafraid. So without further ado, why don't we ski what's up with fear? The number one thing to remember when you're facing fear is that it's natural. Everybody experiences it because fear is a universally shared thing. Even after years of skiing, I still get scared sometimes. Looking down at the big white slope before me, thinking about how I'm about to fly down the hill at 40 miles an hour, compacted into a tight helmet, goggles, and ski wear. Well, all those thoughts overwhelm me sometimes, and my nerves get sometimes hard to push away. And so I have to think about how fear is a natural and okay thing. It's okay to be scared of something sometimes, and I'm not the only one. In fact, professionals get scared too. In a National Public Radio interview and article titled "How Olympians Cope with the Fear of Downhill Alpine Skiing," a sports correspondent, Tom Goldman, interviewed Stacy Cooks, a 4-time Olympian downhill skier. Stacy Cooks faced a devastating fall in 2010, but she was able to get back up there because of this one thing, and she said, as I quote, "I changed my mindset to believe in the opportunity and not the circumstance of the past. It was that change in mindset that really was the key into getting into the race." Stacy here is talking about how she was able to overcome her fear and how she was able to get back up on that hill and do that run again, all because she believed in herself and wasn't going to let fear stop her. And she was able to do that run successfully. You may be wondering after my first point, I don't ski, so how does this apply to me? Well, in any scenario, fear is your friend, and that's good, which is my second point. Dave Kaiser, an executive coach on Lifehack, described in his 2011 article, "Why Fear is Your Friend," and wrote that fear motivates us to action and lets you know that you are alive, just as Forrest Griffin once said. Well, without fear, you wouldn't have that adrenaline, and as we discussed in class, adrenaline can help propel you forward, especially in situations that your brain is uncomfortable with. Skiing is a risky sport, and you sometimes have to remember that where you are is a slightly dangerous situation, so that adrenaline can propel you forward. So fear is technically a skier's best friend, and it can be your best friend in any scenario. In 2016, I actually faced a ski crash during a mock slalom race, which is a race where skiers weave in and out of poles such as this one. As you can see, it's kind of a dangerous sport because you're going so tightly around the poles, but it was something that I really wanted to do. It was a bit more of a moderate race, nothing like the Olympics, but I was able to actually have the opportunity to do it with my coach. And during this race, you're supposed to either beat your competitor or a time, and this time I was racing with my instructor. So the first leg of the race, I was good, but as I was reaching the last leg, I gained a lot of speed, and I didn't realize that at the very end of the race, you would have to get through an opening at the very end with 2 mesh fences. So while I suddenly realized that I had to get through that opening, I didn't realize that my skis were crossing, and I ended up rolling headfirst into the fence. Thankfully, the fence blocked some of the damage, but I ended up scraping my side a bunch, and I was very shaken from the fall. But I realized that this was something that I really wanted to do, and so after a few days of dwelling in that fear ended up motivating me to do it again. And so I was able to do and complete the race with a happy heart and was able to say that I have successfully done a mock slalom race. Speaking of crashes, I've had my fair share of them. Nothing too serious, thankfully, but that brings me to my last and final point. You have to be able to overcome and accept fear in order to continue doing what you love in life, like skiing. Unofficial Networks, a website for skiing and snowboarding, wrote in their 2017 article, 7 Facts About Ski Deaths and Injuries, that Johns Hopkins medical officials estimated in 2017 that around 600,000 people are injured nationally and annually due to a skiing accident or snowboarding accident. Now, those are some pretty scary odds, and I've had to learn to be able to accept those odds when I ski because I wasn't going to let fear overcome me. Instead, I was going to overcome fear. Now, a few years after the Mont Salome crash, I had another crash. I was doing my first jump, and it wasn't a huge jump like the professionals do in the Olympics, only a small one, but it was still a jump nonetheless. And I actually tripped on the ice, and I ended up skidding across the ice and skinning my side. It was a lot like getting carpet burn, so it hurt, and I was pretty shaken, a lot more shaken from the Mont Salome crash, because it was something that I thought I could confidently do. But it ended up, I guess I couldn't have done it. So I was pretty shaken, as I said, for the rest of the week, and I thought about it, and I almost didn't want to ever do it again. But I told myself, you're letting fear overcome you, Olivia. You can't give in to the fear. You have to learn to accept it and move on, just as I had to learn and accept and move on from the facts that I could seriously get injured someday. So I got back up on that hill and I successfully completed the run, as you can see in this photo. And I'm very much more grateful for it because I pushed myself and I told myself that I wasn't going to let myself become overcome by fear. And that ended up helping me in life and helping me further advance myself in my skiing career. Today, I've spoken to you about how fear can rule our lives in different ways, how fear is natural, how fear can be our greatest friend and ally, and how it is possible to be afraid but not let it overcome you. The last thing I want to leave you with is that you should always know you're going to face fear in life, but it is how and what you decide to do with that fear that can change your world forever.